Other ones used to automatic board, so that's why I don't think about it. That's my bad. I don't use it as much with this class. So yes, if we septicemia, if we have growth with the bacteria, if we find some bacteria that it shouldn't be, that would just be bacteremia. A couple goes hiking in the Four Corners area of the United States and return with massively swollen lymph nodes and a fever. What is this? All right, so this is actually probably the bubonic plague. So we have the bubonic plague here in the United States. It's kept in the prairie dog population in like that Four Corners area near Utah and Colorado and all of that. So if they're going out there hiking and it's just the two of them, they're probably not being exposed to anybody with mono, right? They're probably not getting that. Malaria, that's something that we're going to find outside of the United States. Same thing with Ebola. So those are online places. Now we would fall back on the bubonic plague. They probably were hanging out in their tent and got bitten by some fleas that were carrying the plague, just like what we see with rats in the, I don't know, Black Death era. Very uncommon, but it does happen. So which disease is caused by a herpes virus? So that's going to be Burkitt's lymphoma. Burkitt's lymphoma is caused by the same virus that infectious mononucleosis is caused by. That's Epstein-Barr virus. It also happens to be a herpes virus. All right, which of the following is not a hemorrhagic fever? All right, so this is going to be Chagas disease. Yeah, I mean, it's not. That's my answer. I don't know what to tell you. Dengue fever, it is considered a hemorrhagic fever. Ebola, we would all know that that one would be. And then Lassa fever, just be familiar with that one. All right, true or false? HIV has a DNA genome that uses reverse transcriptase to insert itself into the host genome.
They all get remote control skin.
Yes. So HIV, it has a RNA genome. It's not DNA. And reverse transcriptase, it will convert the convert that RNA into DNA, and then another enzyme is the one that puts that into the host genome. So it's more going on there. Now I swear I heard noise. I don't know what it was. I don't know. Okay. Tricky stuff with HIV. It's got a lot going on. So other things you want to know about cardiovascular and lymphatic diseases, the plague, the 3 different kinds of the plague, and essentially which ones are the most deadly versus least deadly of them. They're all bad. Diseases that are caused by Epstein-Barr, malaria prevention, and malaria and prevention, so the cause and prevention. Malaria is caused by a protozoan, it's Plasmodium. Okay, hemorrhagic fevers and non-hemorrhagic fevers, and the difference between the two. And then hemorrhagic fevers essentially just are associated with fragility of blood vessels. Fragility, that's what I said. Chagas disease is transmitted by that kissing bug, the triatomine bug that bites and then defecates in the area and transmits the protozoa that way. And then we have all the details of the HIV infection. All right, diseases of the respiratory system. 6-year-old Johnny presents with a red sore throat with white patches. It's pharyngitis. What is the most likely cause? Good job. Yes, that's going to be Streptococcus pyogenes. We see this one popping up a lot. We see Streptococcus pneumoniae pop up a lot too, though, if you pay attention. So do know when they're different. 2-week-old Lily is brought in with an uncontrollable cough. She can't catch her breath. Grandma brought her in. What is the cause? 2 weeks old. So even here in the United States, we still have problems with this. This is whooping cough, which is caused by Bordetella pertussis bacterium. That if we don't stay vaccinated as we get older, as older folks, we can contract the disease and it won't be quite as severe, but we hold our little grandbabies and unfortunately it's very severe for them. I don't know if you guys watched the video that was on that lecture, but it was like kind of heart-wrenching. Little baby cannot breathe at all. All right, tetanus, diphtheria, pertussis, they all produce toxins thanks to lysogenic conversion. What does that mean? Okay, so this one harkens all the way back to our virology talk, and then again, our bacteriology essentially talk. Bacteriophages, of course, that makes sense. Bacteriophages are viruses that infect bacteria, and they are capable, the temperate phages are capable of incorporating their genome into the bacterial genome. When they do that, that is called lysogeny. And they can, when they do that, bring genes along with them that can give advantage to the bacteria that are receiving that. That's what's going on here. These bacteria are receiving genes from phages that are infecting them, and those genes are going to code for the toxins that they produce that are associated with the classic symptoms of their disease. Pretty interesting, actually. All right, antigenic drift of influenza genes occurs due to random mutations over time, true or false? Okay, so good job, that's going to be true because antigenic shift is the one that we're going to have the big change all at once, usually due to recombining within another organism. Tammy got over her cold, but now she's got what her doctors call walking pneumonia. What is causing her ailment? That is going to be Mycoplasma pneumoniae. Walking pneumonias tend to be caused by Mycoplasma bacteria. They have unusual presentation of pneumonia symptoms. All right, how does Mycobacterium tuberculosis evade the innate immune response? Remember, anytime we're establishing an infection, you have to have some way to evade, phagocytosis, essentially. Right, so Mycobacterium tuberculosis lives inside the phagocytes that are in the lung. These are the alveolar macrophages. They actually live in there and prefer to be in there. So that's how they make it through that. They like that. All right, that was it for the respiratory diseases. Remember, we want to know the defenses of the respiratory system. Diphtheria, we didn't really talk about it too much, but we have that pseudomembrane development. Influenza, what is neuraminidase, what is hemagglutinin, and how like Tamiflu affects those. Pneumonia is a syndrome because it can be caused by a whole bunch of other things. That's the same with meningitis, is what the two best examples for syndromes. And then we have tuberculosis, one of the different stages that are involved, the features and the diagnostic methods. Keep in mind that tuberculosis always starts off with primary tuberculosis, always. You might have a little bit of symptoms associated with that, or maybe a mild cough or something, but you wouldn't really think anything of it. But then you go into latent tuberculosis, where it's basically just chilling in your lungs, waiting until you have reactivation tuberculosis or secondary tuberculosis, where you have breaking out of those bacteria from those tubercles, essentially, and spreading around, causing consumption, coughing up blood, and all the good stuff associated with that. All right, let's go into the GI diseases. What is the most common infectious disease in humans? Yeah, that's going to be dental caries or tooth decay. Barb and Joe disembark on their cruise and run to a doctor as they've got diarrhea. Many passengers do. What's the cause? All right, so that's going to be norovirus. That's just one you would have to be familiar with when you're studying that one, but norovirus is the one associated with cruise ships. What feature do Shigella and S-Tech not have in common? All right, so S-Tech is Shiga toxin producing E. coli. This is the one that they're talking about when they talk about like food poisoning being extremely dangerous and causing dysentery whenever you have E. coli poisoning. E. coli 0157H7 is an S-Tech. Right, so Shigella, we know that's Shigella dysenteriae. Obviously, that causes dysentery as well. Dysentery is bloody diarrhea. So obviously they're both going to cause dysentery. That's an easy one. They both produce Shiga toxin. And that's kind of what drives the whole Shiga for both of them. And then we have gram negative. They all both happen to be gram negative organisms. But Shigella is non-motile. We know E. coli is motile, right? Talked about that a little bit in the lab. It is Lophotrichus. All right, Bob has yellowed eyes and hepatomegaly. He just got out of prison and admits to sexual activity there. What do you diagnose him like? All right, so this one is going to be hepatitis B. Hepatitis C is transmitted really only by intravenous drug use. But B, that's going to be blood as well as sexual activity. Just got to know those ones. What is the most common helminth infection? All right, so our answer here, the most common helminth infection, that's going to be Ascaris or ascariasis, if we're talking about the syndrome associated with that. But that is the giant intestinal roundworm, more common than both the tapeworm and pinworms, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. Okay, with the GI disease, remember the importance of the gut biome. Don't forget that rotavirus is the most common viral cause of diarrhea. What is the best way to treat diarrhea? Essentially, fluids and rest, and replacing electrolytes. The importance of cholera and John Snow and how he essentially used epidemiology to solve the problem with outbreaks of cholera around wells. We have 3 kinds of hepatitis and how are they each transmitted. And then the helminths. There's a lot of them. Okay, this is the genitourinary diseases. Most of these are sexually transmitted. True or false? The biome of both males and females can change upon initiation of sexual activity. So that one's going to be true. Exposing yourself to somebody else's biome is going to change yours typically. Right. Meg's doctor diagnoses her with a yeast infection and advises she use over-the-counter medicine. What would she choose? I actually saw this question basically earlier in a different form. So that's going to be miconazole. That's the one that's going to treat fungal infection. Remember that yeast infection causes vaginitis and not vaginosis. All right, Meg was at her doctor's to get her pap smear. This important test checks for early signs of cancer caused by what? Good job, guys. That is HPV, human papillomavirus, the most common STI. Estimated that 90% of people will have had HPV at some point after they become sexually active. It's real. That's a real number. Roy rolls in with a very characteristic brown rash on his palms and a swollen lymph nodes. How would you treat him? Right, so this one is just being aware of what the organism is, what it's causing, and the fact that syphilis, which is what this is very commonly treated with penicillin. Like the reason why it was invented. Right, true or false? Infection with HSV1 protects you from infection with HSV2. Right, good job, guys. That is false. You can have both, unfortunately. So those were our genitourinary diseases. We want to know differences between the male and female biomes. Urinary tract infections typically caused by E. coli, vaginitis versus vaginosis, what the difference is there, and which ones would be causing pelvic inflammatory disease. What type of organism is Trichomonas vaginalis? We brought that one up earlier. That's protozoan. The Tuskegee study that was associated with the syphilis study, the 3 stages of syphilis, human papillomavirus, and the vaccines that are associated with that, and then herpes virus infection. So that's that. If you guys had any questions over that portion of, what we've learned, the second part of everything, let me know. The video for the first part should still be available. I will repost the Kahoot, this Kahoot, like the review for the Kahoot for both this and the first part. So you guys can study with those if you'd like to. I try to get a little bit more detail going on with the questions for this one, so I hope that helps you guys out with as far as what you need to study. I apologize right now for the people who will be watching this later that I did not record the first part of this. I forgot. I'm sorry. But you still have the quiz that you can go through. And of course, if you guys have any questions at all over the quiz or any of the material that you're studying, please don't hesitate to contact me. All righty. Do you guys have any questions online before I kick you guys off? All right. Yeah, so I'll get those posted. I don't think there's something else that I'm missing. I don't think there is. You guys think of anything like want something else posted that I haven't posted yet? Just let me know. Okay.
You're going to post the old Kahoots too for the midterm.
Like the quizzes or like just the review?
Just the review.
Yeah, I'll post the review for sure. Yeah. And the links for the videos on that should be available. But yeah, I'll post the Kahoots again. Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have a statement. Be ready to see us cry.
I mean, I'm not gonna like kind of expect it at this point,
Right.
especially with the summer with how like rough this has been on you guys.